The morning was silent until the sea erupted. 31 pirate boats, armed to the teeth, tore across Somali waters like a swarm of hornets. 250 fighters, each carrying rocket launchers and machine guns, closed in on what looked like an easy target, a slow-moving American supply ship. The attack was fast, precise, and merciless. Gunfire shattered the calm, rockets screamed overhead, and within 4 minutes the crew was overwhelmed. 5 Americans were dead. The rest, tied up on deck, stared at the black flag now flying over their vessel. But the pirates had no idea what they had just touched. This wasn't just another cargo ship. It carried compounds critical for powering US fighter jets and missile systems. By seizing it, they hadn't won a ransom. They had declared war on the United States, and the retaliation would come faster than they ever imagined. The pirates celebrated as if victory was certain. They fired rifles into the air, shouting across the waves as their speedboats circled the ship like predators around a kill. But deep inside the bridge, the captain, once a Navy lieutenant, pressed a button that would change everything. A silent distress code, invisible to the pirates, raced across the ocean at the speed of light. 128 miles away, aboard the USS Liberty, alarms blared. Screens flashed red. High-value naval asset compromised. To the pirates, it looked like a rusty cargo ship. To the Pentagon, it was 72 Delta, a logistics vessel carrying jet fuel, missile stabilizers, and encrypted ignition systems. Everything needed to keep an American carrier strike group alive. The stakes had shifted. What seemed like an easy ransom had become a national security emergency. And the U.S. response would be instant.
Rear Admiral Peter Sloan didn't hesitate. The message was clear. Pirates had taken a mission-critical supply ship. His order was just as clear. Initiate Operation Thunderette. We go now. Within minutes, the calm deck of the USS Liberty transformed into controlled chaos. 10 MH-60 Seahawks roared to life, their blades chopping the air as 300 elite operators, Navy SEALs and Marine Raiders locked and loaded for combat. Above them, 5 FA-18 Super Hornets screamed into the sky, armed with laser-guided bombs and miniguns. At the same time, 20 MQ-25 Stingray drones, each equipped with AI precision targeting and real-time reconnaissance, lifted silently into formation. In less than 9 minutes, the Indian Ocean skies were alive with steel, speed, and firepower. This was not a negotiation. This was a strike. And the pirates had just put themselves in the crosshairs of America's fury. The hunt for 72 Delta had begun. The hijacked vessel drifted steadily toward the Somali coast, just 8 nautical miles from a pirate stronghold that had eluded international crackdowns for nearly a decade. If the ship reached land, the mission would spiral into urban warfare. Admiral Sloan knew there was no room for hesitation. At 7:01 a.m., the first MQ-25 Stingray drones swept in low, their silent wings skimming just above the water. Targets were marked in seconds. 4 pirate escort boats lit up on satellite feeds. Precision microbombs dropped from the sky, and in a flash, the waves erupted. The pirate fleet that had looked unstoppable just minutes earlier was now burning wreckage. Above, FA-18 Hornets circled like predators, waiting for the order to strike again. And below them, Seahawk helicopters skimmed just above the waves, ready to unleash their human cargo of elite warriors. The countdown to boarding had begun. From the horizon, the pirates spotted the shadows too late. 10 MH-60 Seahawks skimmed across the waves, their rotors slicing the morning air. In perfect formation, they swooped low and released thick ropes. Within seconds, Navy SEALs and Marine Raiders fast-roped onto the deck, boots slamming against steel. The assault was ruthless, precise, and silent. Flashbangs shattered windows, smoke filled corridors, and room by room the ship was cleared. Pirates fired wildly, but they were outmatched. One by one, they fell under the disciplined fire of America's elite. The bridge was secured, the engine room locked down, and within 8 minutes, the hijacked supply ship, once thought lost, was back under U.S. control. Hostages, bloodied but alive, were freed and rushed to medics waiting aboard the Seahawks. But the mission was far from over. The real target still waited inland.
The hostages were safe, but Admiral Sloan's eyes stayed locked on the drone feeds. Just inland, less than 10 miles away, stood the real threat. A pirate fortress that had fueled black market chaos for years. Hardened bunkers, fuel reserves, weapons caches. It was a command hub that had mocked international patrols and bribed its way past every crackdown. If left standing, another ambush would only be a matter of time. Sloan gave the order without pause. Switch targets. Bring it down. Almost instantly, the Hornets peeled off from their holding pattern, banking toward land. Their payloads weren't warnings. They were JDAMs, smart bombs, designed to erase fortresses. From above, Stingray drones streamed real-time coordinates, locking every bunker, every antenna, every escape route. The rescue had become an offensive, and what came next would end the pirates' reign in a single thunderclap. The coastline was about to ignite. At 7:18 a.m., the silence shattered. 4 FA-18 Super Hornets thundered inland, dropping low over the coastline before releasing their payloads. GBU-32 JDAM bombs cut through the clouds, slamming into the pirate compound with surgical precision. Towers crumbled. Fuel tanks detonated. The ground shook as secondary explosions ripped across the base, igniting weapons caches hidden in the sand. From high above, Reaper drones tracked fleeing vehicles, unleashing Hellfire missiles that tore them apart before they could reach the dunes. The pirate fortress, once thought untouchable, was unraveling in minutes. Even hardened bunkers couldn't withstand the relentless assault. The horizon glowed orange as fire consumed the stronghold. For the first time in nearly a decade, the pirates' command center was no longer a shadowy sanctuary. It was a graveyard of steel and flames. But the operation wasn't finished. The Marines were still coming in.
The compound burned, but Admiral Sloan knew airstrikes alone weren't enough. Hidden tunnels, fortified bunkers, and survivors could still regroup. That's when the order came. Insert the Raiders. 2 CH-53 helicopters thundered in low, kicking up waves of dust and smoke as they touched down just outside the wreckage. Doors flew open. Marine raiders poured into the inferno, armed with night vision optics and live drone feeds guiding their every move. They swept through smoldering corridors, clearing tunnels with flash grenades and precise bursts of fire. Pirates tried to resist, but their rifles jammed, their ammo caches destroyed. One by one, they were flushed from hiding. No negotiations, no escape routes, only precision and finality. The compound that had survived for a decade was now being carved apart room by room. And by the time the sun rose higher, there would be nothing left to regroup.
By 7:55 a.m., the fight was over. What had begun as a pirate armada of 31 boats and 250 fighters was now wreckage scattered across land and sea. Drone feeds confirmed over 500 combatants neutralized, dozens more captured, and every weapons cache reduced to twisted steel. The once bustling stronghold was silent, replaced by columns of smoke rising into the morning sky. For years, this base had been the pirates' sanctuary, a fortress built on bribery, corruption, and the world's indifference. Governments had tried and failed to dismantle it. International patrols had circled, threatened, and retreated. But in just under 90 minutes, U.S. precision and fury had succeeded where diplomacy had fallen flat. The stronghold that once laughed at the world's warnings was gone. Its walls turned to rubble, its leaders vaporized in fire. And this wasn't just destruction for the sake of vengeance. It was strategic. Every radar dish, every encrypted hub, every supply cache had been tracked, logged, and annihilated. The pirates' network, once spread across borders and oceans, was severed in a single morning. The black market they fueled would feel the shock for years. But this battle carried something far heavier than tactical success. It carried a message written not in words but in fire across the Somali coast. No one touches an American ship and survives. And that message had only begun to ripple outward.
By 8 a.m., the pirate fortress was gone, reduced to rubble, flames, and silence. Every American sailor had been brought home alive. But the true victory wasn't counted in numbers. It was written in the signal sent across the globe. The U.S. had shown that even a supply ship, one vessel among thousands, was untouchable. Attack it, and you provoke not sailors, but the full arsenal of a superpower. Allies watching from Europe to Asia saw the truth in real time. America would not hesitate to protect its lifelines, its people, or its flag. Enemies, from rogue states to terror groups, watched just as closely and shuddered. The lesson was undeniable. America's reach is immediate, precise, and merciless when tested. Yet inside the Pentagon, the victory sparked deeper reflection. If pirates, outdated fighters, and speedboats could launch such an assault, what might happen if an organized state actor tried the same? What if swarms of drones, cyber warfare, or submarines were used instead of grappling hooks and rifles? The oceans were safer for now, but planners whispered about vulnerabilities still untested. For the sailors who stood tied on deck, and for the families who feared they would never return, this was a miracle of survival. For the pirates, it was extinction. For the world, it was a warning. The seas may seem endless, but when the American flag is raised, it is never alone. That is the promise. That is the deterrent. And that is why the oceans, for now, belong to those willing to defend them. But over the horizon, a darker storm may already be forming. And when it comes, the response will be even greater.